KSLA.com and broadcasting live. You're watching News 6 at noon.
Now at noon, a warning across Central Florida after a weekend of brush fires. Despite the rain, the warning officials are giving as they brace for flare-ups. And a former high school teacher in Central Florida who admitted to sex crimes against a student set to learn his fate. The sentencing hearing underway right now. Thank you so much for joining us this noon. I'm Julie Broughton. Right now, crews are on high alert across Central Florida after several brush fires erupted over the weekend. This fire in Volusia County was so intense, it forced the shutdown of I-95 for hours. In Osceola County, flames from a nearby fire tore through a nursery supply business, prompting evacuations. As your Osceola County community correspondent Stephanie Rodriguez explains, while the flames are contained, the threat remains.
This nursery here behind me off of Point Siena Boulevard in Osceola County caught fire when wind pushed a brush fire into the business's outdoor inventory. Here's what it looked like at full force. It stretched miles, reaching a 4-alarm fire. Osceola County Fire Rescue and EMS evacuated nearby businesses and a truck lot. They worked for hours with multiple agencies, tankers, and aircrafts to contain it. We know the facility produces a variety of plastics for plant nurseries, and that firefighters had to be really careful when they attacked this fire because there are propane tanks here. Again, this all happening after a brush fire was pushed into the business by the wind.
Absolutely. When you have what the Weather Service would call these red flag conditions, the combination of dry conditions and high winds, you do see a lot of unpredictable and fast movement with these wildfires. The embers from one fire can pick up and move.
This nursery also caught fire in 2023. Then a massive fire left the nursery destroyed and all of its inventory charred and unusable. We're talking thousands of pots and pallets. While firefighters say the rain that we had Sunday night helped them as they fought this fire, they're urging everyone to continue to be cautious as dry conditions continue throughout the region. I'm your Osceola County community correspondent, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
And Volusia County crews have seen some flare-ups in Port Orange following another brush fire that shut down parts of I-95 for hours yesterday. Traffic cameras captured the situation as it unfolded. Volusia County leaders actually say there were 4 separate fires that broke out, charring about 10 acres along the interstate. Traffic was brought to a standstill for hours, but was reopened around 6 o'clock last night. Crews also responded to a fast-moving, wind-driven brush fire at the Crazy Horse Campground off Tomoka Farms Road. Pictures from that scene show the scorched grass from the flames, which also burned 20 to 30 vehicles in the area. No injuries were reported in either fire. And while we did get some rain to help out this weekend, it wasn't enough to get us out of the drought. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos. And Candace, we just need so much rain that while yesterday was good, it is not drought-busting rain.
We need a couple of days of that back-to-back for us to actually get some considerable change to our drought monitor. But the good news is with that system is, one, it did bring us some rain, and 2, it's bringing us a cooler day. We do have a lot of cloud cover. We talked about it this morning that the clouds will stick around for a little bit this afternoon. Right now, that's keeping temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. Now, do be aware, we have another windy afternoon. Right now, the winds are gusting upwards about 20 to 26 miles per hour. So it is going to be warmer. It's going to be breezy for your President's Day. So the fire threat remains and will loom in the forecast most of the week. Of course, we're talking about a moderate fire danger. Luckily, no advisories are issued yet because of that. But of course, we're going to be turning much drier and those winds will continue to kick up. Speaking of the winds kicking up, you can see it's a bit of an overcast. Some of that kind of sea fog kind of still being picked up. 64 degrees right now, but notice that breeze out of the north about 14 miles per hour. Not an ideal beach day. Conditions will get a little better throughout the rest of the week, but temperatures this afternoon along our beaches in the upper 60s. But we are still talking about a high risk of rip currents. We'll have more details on what you can expect on this very quick warm up ahead in the forecast coming up in just a couple minutes.
Candace, thank you. New at noon, 4 juveniles are recovering from injuries after a fight in Orlando's Paramore neighborhood ends with gunfire. Police say it happened just before 1 yesterday afternoon along South Paramore Avenue, not far from West South Street. Investigators say all 4 were taken to the hospital, but only 1 had life-threatening injuries. Officers say the whole thing stemmed from a dispute involving another juvenile. Detectives say they are still investigating, and so far no one has been arrested. Happening now, a former Lake Mary High School teacher who admitted to sex crimes against a student is set to learn his fate. Right now, a sentencing hearing is underway in the case against Richard Colon. He pleaded guilty last year to 3 counts of sexual battery. News 6's Mark Lehman spent the morning in the courtroom and explains how much time Colon could get behind bars.
The state going through some disturbing messages they say were sent by the former teacher to the student he admitted committing sex crimes against. Now the judge is set to decide his punishment, and the maximum penalty is up to life in prison. 57-year-old Richard Colon was in the courtroom today as a judge is set to sentence him in this case. The former Lake Mary High School teacher pleaded guilty last year to 3 counts of sexual battery by a person in authority, along with child pornography and solicitation charges. According to investigators, the abuse began in 2024 with sexually charged Snapchat messages and escalated at Colon's Sorrento home and also inside his classroom during school hours. While in court today, the lead detective in the case described Colon as someone who groomed the victim.
They use that trust to manipulate that child into growing feelings for them and developing a sexual relationship. And from my experience, that's what I see in those messages.
Based on the development of the relationship, how they previously knew each other, how those different responses were reached out, it did not appear to be grooming to me.
That second witness was a forensic psychologist called by the defense. She testified that Colon was not grooming the victim, in her opinion. There was also a moment raised by the victim's attorney where he accused Colon's lawyer of victim shaming. At this point, it's unclear how many more witnesses will be called in this case. We know the state said they have several impact statements to go through before they present their final arguments for a stricter sentence. We'll post updates as we get them under this story on ClickOrlando.com. In Seminole County, Mark Lehman, News 6.
Also new at noon, firefighters in Seminole County are working to figure out what led to a fire at a strip mall in Longwood. These are pictures taken by Seminole County firefighters of the scene near Savage Court. This was just before 5:30 this morning. Fire officials say several suites suffered significant damage in the fire, but no one was hurt. The cause is now under investigation. New developments in the search for Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie. The FBI is now testing DNA found in a glove found near the 84-year-old's Arizona home. It's believed to match that of a masked person caught on camera outside her house more than 2 weeks ago. As CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti explains, investigators are also looking at surveillance video from nearby Walmarts, where the suspect may have bought his backpack.
As the search for Nancy Guthrie enters a 3rd week, Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie had this message late Sunday for her mother's abductor.
It is never too late to do the right thing.
Investigators are now focusing on items they believe the suspect was wearing the night Guthrie was taken on February 1st, including this face mask they believe was purchased at Walmart and this Black Ozark trail hiker backpack sold exclusively at the retail giant. Former FBI Special Agent Jason Pack.
But this ultimately could boil down to something as simple as who bought this backpack.
Absolutely. We've been able to track these things back if they've used a credit card or cash.
Meanwhile, the FBI announced Sunday it's entering DNA recovered from a pair of gloves into its database.
What happens next now with these DNA results?
If they're able to match the DNA from inside that residence with the glove they found on the outside, then that's where you got the home run.
As the search goes on, so do a community's prayers. Residents are leaving behind personal messages calling for Guthrie's safe return.
The whole world just wants to know where she is and help find her, because I think that's how much people love the family, the Guthrie family, all over.
And the sheriff tells me that Walmart has handed over purchase records specifically pertaining to that backpack, including names going back several months. We have reached out to Walmart. So far, we have not heard back. Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News, Tucson, Arizona.
More than 24 new Starlink internet satellites are now in orbit after an early morning launch from our Space Coast. This was the scene just before 3 this morning as a Falcon 9 rocket carried those 29 satellites into orbit. About 8 minutes after liftoff, the first stage of the rocket landed on a drone ship in the Atlantic. The launch kicks off a busy week for SpaceX. Another launch is set for Wednesday. Still to come on News 6 at noon, a wild scene inside a Houston stadium. What officials said led to thousands of fans getting soaked after water started pouring from the roof. And the funding fight on Capitol Hill drags on as the nation spends its third day in another government shutdown. Up next, why an end won't come this week. Candace.
And the dry season will also drag on across Central Florida. We certainly had beneficial rain, racked up about an inch, almost 2 inches of rainfall last night. But notice this drying trend that will continue throughout the most of the week. We'll have more details, though, on how temperatures are looking coming up in minutes.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Florida Lottery.
Right now, a partial government shutdown is now in its third day, impacting millions of federal workers across the country. This is a live look at Capitol Hill, where negotiations remain at a standstill. Democrats and Republicans are still divided over funding for the Department of Homeland Security and immigration enforcement. That's impacting agencies like the TSA, FEMA, and U.S. Coast Guard. And as CBS's Natalie Brand explains, with Congress on recess all week, the funding fight won't end anytime soon.
Essential workers like TSA agents are now showing up to work without pay amid a partial government shutdown, along with more than 50,000 Coast Guard members. Other DHS employees are furloughed, including nearly 2/3 of the federal cyber defense workforce, which protects critical infrastructure.
All the Democrats are doing right now is trying to shut down TSA, the Coast Guard, FEMA.
Lawmakers on both sides are blaming each other for the impasse over proposals to reform the administration's immigration enforcement tactics following clashes and the shooting deaths of 2 American citizens in Minnesota.
We're willing to have a good faith conversation about everything, but fundamentally we need change that is dramatic, that is bold, that is meaningful, and that is transformational.
Among the changes Democrats are pushing for, an end to roving patrols, tightening rules around warrants for ICE arrests, and blocking federal agents from wearing masks. Border Czar Tom Homan defended ICE tactics on Face the Nation.
I don't like the masks either, but because threats against ICE officers are up over 1,500%, actual assaults, and threats are up over 8,000%. These men and women had to protect themselves.
The White House and Senate Democrats remain the lead negotiators, and heading into the weekend, President Trump signaled his goal is to protect law enforcement.
ICE has done a phenomenal job. Border Patrol, we have a closed border for the first time in history.
The Senate isn't scheduled to return until next Monday, but lawmakers have been put on notice to come back earlier if a deal is reached. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
A wild scene caught on camera in Houston over the weekend. Rainwater came gushing into NRG Stadium as thousands were inside watching a Monster Jam event. That looks crazy. Officials say the covered stadium is undergoing some construction, which certainly didn't help the situation. The man who took the video said at one point it felt as though a fire hose was shooting water onto the crowd, leaving fans soaked. Wow. Turning now to our weather, here's a live look for you from our camera in Daytona Beach. Have a whole lot of cloud cover hanging around behind a front. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos. Candace, a lot of us saw some storms and some rain yesterday, but we really need more rain and just not a whole lot in the future for us.
Exactly. I mean, beneficial for sure. But now that front, after it brought us all that rain, is now bringing us a very dry stretch. I got caught off guard. I was watching that person get up on that slingshot. They were going up and down, just trying to picture what their face looks like right now up there. Right, Kissimmee Lakefront right now, you can see we're holding at a temperature in the upper 60s. Daytona Beach at 64. You can see the American flag there on this President's Day blowing in the breeze. Orlando International Airport, you can see all that cloud cover that's still pretty stubborn in place right now, 68 degrees. Port Canaveral, maybe a few peaks of sunshine out there. Your current temperature of 66. Now, today, the added cloud cover, that cold front, all of that will spell for today being the coolest day of the week. Enjoy it. We'll be in those low 70s, right where we should be for this time of the year. After that, it's nothing but warm and dry weather all week long. It's going to be a quick warm up, by the way. We'll be back into those mid 80s, about 12 degrees above average by Friday and Saturday as conditions again stay mostly dry. Very, very limited rain in place. And then for your weekend, our next best shot for rain really comes in on Sunday, and that best shot is only at 20% right now. Some models going back and forth whether or not we're going to get a front in by that point. Something we'll be watching and we'll, of course, keep you posted. In the meantime, though, right now, area-wide, we are all in the 60s. We have a little 72-degree mark there in Titusville. But the rest of Central Florida will take its time to get into those low 70s. You can see all that dry air that right now remains in place, and it's just really taking over across the Sunshine State. Anytime we have dry, sinking air, it really limits our chance for rain. It's also going to clear out our skies. It just takes a little bit to get some of that cloud cover out of here. So all that dry air means that more burn bans will be likely throughout the next couple of days. So right now, burn bans are in place for Flagler, Olive Marion, Sumter, Polk County, and Brevard County. Now you're wondering what's going on with Volusia, Seminole, Orange, and Osceola County. Their numbers, or your numbers where you're at, still just below that threshold that tends to fire up those burn bans. So this is something we're going to be watching. Mind you, these counties that are not highlighted are very close to being issued burn bans. So that's something we'll be, of course, keeping you posted on if you do get one. But now let's check on that hour-by-hour forecast for today.
Your forecast is sponsored by Strata Services.
All right, our highs this afternoon, upper 60s, low 70s. Later on tonight, it'll be cooler than how we started this morning. This morning, we were all in the 60s. So tonight, we'll get a couple 40s even in the mix. Then as we look here at clouds and rain futurecast, we should start to see our skies clearing a little more later on this afternoon and into the evening. Notice there's a little green on the imagery here. That's just indicating the possibility of a few coastal showers in place. But other than that, this is a story. Look at this, a stretch in the mid 80s by the end of the week. Here's that possible cold front that could cool us down early next week. Again, that's something we're going to be tracking closely. In the meantime, though, it's going to be all about the warm, dry, breezy weather that once again is going to increase the concern for fire danger.
Candace, thank you. Ever wake up achy and sore? Well, your mattress could be to blame. Coming up, a sleep scientist weighs in. What to look for in a new mattress to help you catch plenty of Z's. In just a few hours, leaders in Osceola County are set to consider two major road projects aimed at easing backups and congestion. One plan would widen Canoe Creek Road from 2 lanes to 4. It comes after a study found traffic in the area is expected to double by 2050. The county is expected to use a federal grant to help with the $64 million price tag. In addition, leaders will discuss improvements to Buenaventura Boulevard between Simpson Road and Osceola Parkway. Today's meeting is set for 5:30. Today is President's Day, and despite it being a holiday, many retailers use the day to promote sales on mattresses. But buyer beware, a sleep scientist says you may want to rethink how you shop. Scientists at Harvard recently found that about 2/3 of Americans don't get enough sleep, and about 25% wake up with pain due to their mattress. Experts recommend to upgrade your mattress every 8 years. So what should you look for to get the best bang for your buck?
You want to try a lot of different options so that you can kind of get a sense of what's available and what matches your needs. And we saw some of the higher levels of mattress satisfaction in the type of mattresses that have coils. Coils are pieces of metal that allow basically air to flow, but also support your body.
Some mattresses also come with some pretty cool technology, including features that track the quality of your sleep and even help eliminate snoring. A final check of your forecast is coming up next. Here's a live look for you from our Launch Credit Union camera at Port Canaveral, where we are seeing some clouds hanging around on our Monday. You're watching News 6 at noon. We're back in 3 minutes. A Girl Scout in Pennsylvania has earned some serious bragging rights. Pim Neal has sold a record-breaking 100,000 boxes of Girl Scout cookies across all 50 states, and she is still going. The 6-year-old jump-started her cookie selling campaign with a TikTok video that went viral. She reached her goal of 100,000 boxes on Sunday, so that means she will be able to fulfill a dream to go to Girl Scout camp this summer. That's pretty lofty. Were you a Girl Scout?
I was not. I feel like I was from how much cookies I eat, but good for her. Maybe she'll be an entrepreneur. Maybe she'll do like sales or something.
She's got something going on.
She's got it, yeah. Let's talk about the weather forecast. If you're running around trying to find your Girl Scout cookie fix, temperatures stay in the low 70s. We are looking a bit warmer though as we head throughout the rest of the week, back into the mid 80s.
All right, Candace, thank you. Thanks for joining us this noon. Well, you can see us at our next newscast at 3. And remember, we always break news on ClickOrlando.com.